Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Mr. Villalobos.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chairman Nadler and members of the committee, for inviting me here to share my story today. My name is Adrian Villalobos, and I'm from El Paso, Texas. I'm currently an intern at the National Disability Rights Network through a fellowship from the Southern Education Foundation. July is a very significant month for me. I was born in July, and so was the Americans with Disability Act. I also had a life-changing accident in July. The ADA was 3 years old when my life changed, and I was essentially reborn. Growing up with the ADA, I consider it my metaphorical big brother. When I was 8, I was hit by a car. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and I missed my entire summer vacation. The following intensive outpatient rehabilitation cut into the school year, and I missed 6 weeks of classes. It was my first taste of social isolation. When I finally returned to school in the 3rd grade, I was in a wheelchair at an elementary school that was not accessible. The right of people with disabilities to be fully included in society was a new concept, and my parents were unaware of the services I was now entitled to. One by one, the 3rd grade teachers refused to have me in their classroom. The intense feeling of rejection my parents experienced on my behalf fueled them to push forward. Finally, a teacher agreed to have me in her class. She and my twin had to drag my chair through the pebbled walkway all the way around the building to get to the portables, the only accessible classrooms in the school. I was still unable to get into the main building, and none of the restrooms were accessible. To get to the cafeteria and auditorium, which were detached from the main building, I had to enter through a loading dock. I remember my return to school very fondly because of the mutual excitement my peers and I had to see each other once again. They were happy to see me, their friend Adrian, not a kid that came back in a wheelchair. The following school year, my class, now 4th grade, was again assigned to the portables. My parents were frustrated that my school was still inaccessible and continued to push the principal and school administration. Only this time, a year after the accident, my family was more educated about my rights and pointed to the ADA. The school administration acted. Ramps to the school building and the cafeteria were built, a bathroom was made accessible, and I was allowed to use the elevator previously restricted to the custodial staff, giving me access to the nurse's station. In elementary school, I got a taste of basic accommodations. The administration at my middle school had a completely different tone. They did not have accessible facilities either, but made major changes to their school to make my experience a positive one. As I was growing, the ADA was growing, and the attitude of inclusion was evolving in a positive way. My principal wanted me to have the option to attend any school event or activity I wanted to. He insisted on a modified cello so I could learn the instrument and play in the school orchestra. A lift was built so I can get on stage and participate in the drama club, and a ramp was built across the highway to the football field. Middle school taught me inclusion. By high school, I had good friends, knew how to navigate El Paso comfortably, and felt self-empowered. I attended high school in a brand new building that was completely accessible. It was 1999, and the ADA was in full swing. I really understood that perceived limitations are not actual limitations, and that despite my disability, I was responsible for reaching my potential. With that self-confidence and motivation, I enrolled in a liberal arts college in Ohio. Excited to start something challenging and new, I quickly learned that accessible is not equal. The college disability office, with only one staff member, granted me an accessible room with an accessible bathroom and shower. The problem with my room was that it was in the lobby of my dorm. Everyone else lived on the other side of locked hallways in the typical freshman hall setting. I was the guy who lived in the lobby. The gratitude I felt for having an accessible shower quickly turned to a feeling of isolation. As I evolved and my needs changed, accommodation was no longer adequate. I needed inclusion. The ADA recognized that too. I didn't survive that college in Ohio. Instead, I transferred to the University of Texas at El Paso, back to my friends and family and my network. But even at the University of Texas at El Paso, where I was accommodated and included, there were obstacles to overcome. On my graduation day, for example, I was excluded from the commencement procession because, in the words of university staff, I was a fire hazard. As I've evolved as an individual with a disability, so has the ADA. The concept of disability rights is no longer new or foreign. I attribute that to the ADA creating a general awareness of accessibility and inclusion. More importantly, the people in my life have become aware of disability rights. As the ADA evolves, it's important for policymakers to be proactive about inclusion of all people with disabilities. I am lucky to have a family that has helped me when I needed it, but our effect on others I bet along the way. In El Paso, many families don't speak English. I wonder how their children with disabilities fare. Independent advocates are needed to enforce the ADA. My experience with disability rights has motivated me to pursue a career in disability rights policy. I want to go beyond achieving independence and access for myself. I want to be an advocate for others as well. I'm now pursuing a joint degree in public and business administration, and my first goal is to work with my university to bring to light the accessibility issues and to participate fully in my commencement ceremonies when I complete my graduate studies. Beyond that, I feel limitless. Thank you again for granting me the opportunity to speak before all of you today.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all the witnesses for their testimony.